Three world champions, three completely different shooting styles. But here's the surprising part, all three have reached the very top of clay shooting while using completely different techniques. George Digweed trusts instinct and natural timing. Anthony Matarese Jr. believes every target should be planned before the gun even moves. And Zachary Kienbaum focuses on rhythm, tempo, and visual discipline. So here's the question. How can three completely different methods all produce world champions? Is there really a single best shooting technique? Or have most shooters been practicing the wrong way all along? In today's video, we're diving deep into the minds of three legendary champions. We'll break down their shooting styles, their mental approach, their practice routines, their target reading techniques, and the small habits that helped them dominate the world's biggest competitions. By the end of this video, you'll understand the strengths and weaknesses of every style. More importantly, you'll discover which champion's method matches your shooting style. Whether you're a beginner, an experienced clay shooter, or someone looking to break more targets with greater consistency. This isn't about proving one champion is better than another. It's about understanding why they became champions and how you can apply their lessons the very next time you step onto the shooting stand. Let's get started. George Digweed's championship formula. George Digweed doesn't coach the way most instructors do. He isn't focused on telling shooters, "More lead, swing faster, you missed in front." Instead, he teaches the skills that every champion depends on: vision, balance, timing, mental control. His philosophy is simple: don't chase the target, understand it. Rather than teaching shortcuts or complicated formulas, George builds shooters from the ground up with strong fundamentals and natural movement. That's the reason his methods have stood the test of time. Today, we're breaking down the core coaching principles behind George Digweed's legendary success. Lessons that helped him dominate world clay shooting for decades and may completely change the way you think about breaking targets. Because this isn't just about shooting, it's about thinking like a champion. I'm going to break down George Digweed's top 3 championship skills that have made him one of the greatest clay shooters in history. These aren't quick tips or shooting hacks. They're the core principles behind his success and the foundation of his coaching philosophy. Let's start with skill number 1, the natural swing-through method. This may be his most famous coaching principle. George Digweed is known for using the swing-through method on almost everything, and his reason is simple. Swing-through teaches natural timing. Most instructors teach shooters to hold lead. George thinks that creates hesitation. Instead, he teaches students to start behind the target, move through the line, then fire naturally as the barrel passes the front edge. Why? Because this creates connection. George believes swing-through helps shooters understand the target's line better and reduces vertical errors. This is why his students stop chasing exact inches of lead. Because George hates robotic shooting. He says shooting should feel natural, like throwing a ball, like catching something, not like solving a math equation. And here's where his coaching becomes dangerous. Most shooters obsess over lead distance. George obsesses over gun speed, timing, line, smoothness. That changes everything, because once students stop trying to measure the shot, their movement becomes free, natural, fluid, and suddenly, difficult targets start breaking consistently. This is why George often says, "Lead becomes irrelevant when hand-eye coordination is correct." That statement alone destroys traditional coaching methods. But his results speak for themselves. World titles, decades of dominance, legendary consistency. That doesn't happen accidentally. Skill number 2, vision before everything. This is the foundation of his entire coaching system. George believes great shooting starts with great seeing. Most shooters think they miss because of bad lead. George disagrees completely. He teaches that the real problem is usually visual failure. Because the second your eyes disconnect from the target, everything collapses. timing, movement, confidence, control. That's why George constantly teaches students. Focus on the target, not the gun. In fact, he strongly believes both eyes should stay open whenever possible because depth perception matters massively in clay shooting. Most beginners panic and start checking the barrel. Huge mistake. George wants shooters locked onto a specific point of the clay. Not the whole target, not the background, a precise visual point. Because the brain calculates movement naturally when vision stays clean. This is why George almost never teaches measured lead. He teaches visual instinct, feel the line, see the target, trust the eyes. That's real championship shooting. And here's the powerful part. George believes your subconscious can calculate faster than conscious thinking. That's why overthinking destroys shooters. The more you try to aim, the worse you become. Elite shooters don't force shots. They visually connect to targets. That's why George's shooting looks calm even under insane pressure. Because his eyes stay disciplined while others mentally panic. Skill number 3, mastering pressure like a champion. This may be the most powerful skill of all, because pressure destroys talented shooters every single day. But George Digweed built a system designed for consistency under stress. That's why his mentality became legendary. He teaches students, never become emotional after a miss. Because emotional shooting destroys focus instantly. The moment frustration enters your brain, vision weakens, movement speeds up, timing collapses. George stays calm, always. That's why his shooting looks so controlled, even in massive competitions, even under world championship pressure. And this mentality spreads into his coaching. He teaches process over emotion, focus over panic, structure over chaos. This is why George's students improve mentally as well as technically. Because he teaches shooters how to think correctly. And that's the real secret behind elite performance. Not motivation, not aggression, calm execution. George Digweed understands something very few athletes ever master. Pressure only destroys people who fight it emotionally. Champions stay neutral, focused, disciplined, controlled. That's why George Digweed became more than just a champion shooter. He became a symbol of consistency itself. Anthony Matarese Jr.'s method. Anthony Matarese Jr. didn't become one of the greatest sporting clays shooters by chance. He earned that reputation through precision, preparation, and consistency. As the first American to win the World English Sporting Championship and one of the sport's most respected competitors, Anthony built a coaching system based on real championship experience, not theory. His philosophy is simple: plan every shot, trust your vision, execute with precision. Today, we're breaking down Anthony Matarese Jr.'s top 3 championship skills, the proven principles behind his elite performance and world-class coaching. These aren't beginner tips. They're the same fundamentals that have helped champions perform under pressure. Let's begin with skill number 1, elite visual control. Anthony Matarese Jr. is obsessed with vision because, according to him, your eyes control the entire shot. Not your hands, not your barrel, your eyes. That's why he constantly teaches clear target, soft barrel. Meaning, the target stays visually sharp. Not the gun, not the bead, the target. Most beginners constantly check the barrel. Huge mistake. The second your eyes leave the target, timing weakens, movement disconnects, confidence disappears. Anthony teaches shooters to visually lock onto tiny details of the clay itself. Not the general area, specific detail. He once explained that on birds, he notices feather color and the beak, while on clays, he focuses on sharp target detail. That level of visual focus is elite, because the brain becomes incredibly accurate when visual information stays clean. And this is where Anthony's philosophy becomes powerful. He does not teach robotic aiming. He teaches visual instinct, natural connection, subconscious timing. That's why his students stop obsessing over exact inches of lead. Instead, they learn how to see correctly. Because Anthony understands something most shooters never realize. The subconscious calculates movement faster than conscious thought. That's why overthinking destroys consistency. The more you try to shoot, the worse your timing becomes. Anthony trains shooters to trust visual flow, target line, and natural movement. That's championship shooting psychology. Skill number 2, practice like a world champion. Anthony Matarese Jr. believes most shooters practice incorrectly. They shoot hundreds of shells, without structure, without analysis, without purpose. Anthony completely rejects that style of training. He teaches, every shot must teach you something. That means isolate weaknesses, repeat difficult targets, evaluate misses, reinforce successful movement. This is why his students improve rapidly, because they stop practicing randomly. Anthony's training philosophy is deeply methodical. He teaches shooters to constantly evaluate stance, mount, eye movement, hold point, transition timing, and rhythm. Nothing is ignored. Because Anthony understands, championships are built through repeatable habits. Not motivation, not hype, habits. That's why fundamentals matter so much in his coaching. Body balance, visual discipline, smooth movement, and timing. Because pressure exposes weak mechanics instantly. And average shooters collapse under pressure because their fundamentals aren't stable. Anthony's students don't, because their process is already structured. That's elite preparation. Skill number 3, every target needs a plan. Anthony Matarese Jr. believes most shooters lose before the target even appears. Why? Because they have no structure. They step onto the station, call pull, then try to figure it out during the shot. Huge mistake. Anthony teaches, every target must have a repeatable plan. That means before the target appears, you know your hold point, visual pickup point, break point, and movement path. This is why Anthony's shooting looks calm. Because his brain already solved the problem early. Most shooters react emotionally. Anthony executes strategically. That's a massive difference. He constantly teaches students, don't guess during the shot, because guessing creates panic, and panic destroys timing. This is why his coaching feels analytical and precise. Students often say lessons with Anthony feel mentally exhausting, in a good way, because he constantly asks, why did you miss? What did your eyes do? Was your movement connected? Did your hold point work? That level of analysis creates smarter shooters, not dependent shooters. And that's why his students improve quickly. Zachary Kienbaum's modern shooting system. Zachary Kienbaum believes most shooters make clay shooting more complicated than it needs to be. They chase secret techniques. They rely too much on equipment. But Zach teaches a different approach. Simplify the process. Trust your vision. Understand the target. His coaching philosophy is built on consistency, smart decision-making, and repeatable fundamentals, not complicated theories. That's why he's respected as both a world-class competitor and one of the sport's leading coaches. Today, we're breaking down Zachary Kienbaum's top 3 championship skills, the core principles that help shooters become more consistent and break more targets. Let's start with skill number 1. Consistency beats perfection. Most shooters chase perfect shots. Zach Kienbaum teaches something more valuable: consistency. Because perfection is unpredictable. Consistency is repeatable. Anyone can hit an amazing target once. The real challenge is doing it again, and again, and again. Championship shooters understand that shooting isn't about occasional brilliance. It's about reliable execution. This mindset changes everything. Instead of chasing spectacular shots, shooters begin chasing repeatable movements, repeatable routines, repeatable preparation, repeatable focus. Over time, these repetitions create stability, and stability creates consistency. This is one reason elite shooters appear calm under pressure. Their process doesn't change. The score changes, the target changes, the environment changes, but the process remains the same. And that consistency becomes a competitive advantage. Skill number 2, target focus, changes everything. If there is one theme that appears repeatedly throughout elite clay shooting instruction, it's visual focus, and Zach Kienbaum is no exception. Many shooters believe they miss because of poor lead, poor technique, or poor gun movement. Sometimes that's true, but very often the real problem begins with the eyes, because the eyes drive the entire shooting system. The eyes find the target, the brain processes information, the body responds, the gun follows. But when visual focus breaks down, everything behind it begins breaking down as well. This is why experienced shooters often appear calm. They're not staring at the barrel. They're not trying to measure lead. They're not forcing movement. They're simply gathering information from the target. The clearer the visual picture becomes, the easier the shooting process becomes, and perhaps that's one of Zach's most important lessons. Great shooting doesn't start with the gun. It starts with vision. Skill number 3, understand the target first. After watching thousands of shooters over the years, one truth becomes obvious. Most shooters spend too much time trying to hit targets, and not enough time trying to understand them. This may be Zach Kienbaum's most powerful lesson. Understand first, shoot second, because every target presents information. Speed, distance, angle, line, timing. The shooters who learn how to read that information gain a tremendous advantage. They stop guessing, they stop forcing, they stop chasing solutions. Instead, they begin recognizing patterns. And once patterns become visible, improvement accelerates. Because shooting becomes less about reacting and more about understanding, the target hasn't changed. The shooter's awareness has, and awareness is often the difference between average performance and elite performance. After comparing 3 world-class champions, one thing becomes clear: there isn't just one perfect way to break more targets. George Digweed proves that experience and instinct can create consistency. Anthony Matarese Jr. shows how preparation and discipline build champions. And Zachary Kienbaum reminds us that rhythm and visual control can completely transform your shooting. The best shooters don't copy everyone. They learn from the best, then build a style that works for them. Now it's your turn. Which champion's shooting style impressed you the most? George Digweed, Anthony Matarese Jr., or Zachary Kienbaum? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this comparison and want more videos about world champions, Olympic shooters, shotgun reviews, and clay shooting techniques, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.